Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Story Way Perspective. Today, my guest is a friend, somebody who I met in an entrepreneurship workshop. And we connected because of a mutual love for visual storytelling. She's a producer, she runs a production house, she helps brands tell stories through video and through film. And I'm somebody who helps people tell stories. And when I talk about stories and storytelling, a lot of times my clients, my customers, my subjects, people who want to learn storytelling, they come up with, I have a story to tell, but I don't know how to tell it. And that's where we sit down and say there are many ways to tell a story. A video is one very, very, very powerful way to tell a story. And therefore, what is video storytelling? How is it shaping individuals when they want to tell their story? What are the various formats that there is? We know how social media has taken the world over, and everybody shooting a 60-second reel to get some attention. And there are brands, and there are businesses, and there are entrepreneurs who are trying to leverage the power of video storytelling to captivate their audience or to reach their audience or to share their work with them. We have non-profits who are trying to use the video format to talk about the impact, the change that they are creating. So, how does video storytelling fit into the entire ecosystem of communication and strategic communication for that matter? And so, for that, I have a very dear friend, Vimala Rajkumari, and runs a production house called Visual Brewery. Is that right?
Yes, we brew visuals.
Yes. Lovely. I love it. I'm going to sip coffee while I'm going to have this conversation today. And I hope anyone who's listening to this will also be enjoying their special brew and listening to Vimla talk. Welcome to the Storied Way Perspective, Vimla. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Rituparna. It's lovely to be here.
I take credit for the fact that Vimla stepped from behind the camera in front as a talk show host that we produced for a nonprofit. And there she was, having strategic conversations with women entrepreneurs from the Northeast. And we were sort of we created this persona which lends itself so beautifully to where Vimla is from. She's from Manipur, and she understands the ecosystem. She understands entrepreneurship very well, and that was the perfect pull to bring her, to get her to step out from behind the camera in front of her. Do you remember that, Vimla?
I would say a big thank you to you guys for bringing me in front of the camera. We've always been behind the camera and, being in front of the camera because we come from an age where, we prepare so much to put
Mm.
anything in front of the camera, right? From research to making the frame perfect to everything, right? And it's when someone asks you to come in front of the camera, you're startled. You don't have that much confidence, right? So when you guys came and approached me to be in front of the camera, I was like, "Mm, how am I going to be doing this?" But uh, it was a wonderful experience, and that's given me so much confidence, Ritu. So I would say thank you to you guys.
Now it suddenly feels very nice. I thought you were saying, I mean, I was going to talk very nice things about you and through you, but now the whole podcast starts with about what I did. I mean, it's not about me, it's you. And I think it stems from the idea that we wanted to tell a story and we wanted narratives to come out. And therefore, we chose a format which would bring different voices, would do justice to it, and also bring a storyteller who understands the story of women entrepreneurs in the Northeast. So it adds credibility to you as a host and an anchor. Let's start with you and your story, Vimla. Uh, let's look back at your career. How did you get into video production? You were in Channel V at one point of time, and I know friends. We have mutual friends who you were producers, and that's how you started your career. Can you tell us a little about that?
I passed out from Miranda House in 1995 as an English honors graduate. And 1995 was a time that satellite television was booming in India. And that was a time, from your boring, I, I'm sorry, but Doordarshan was the only television channel at that point of time. And many times their storytelling was quite slow, right? And I think 1995 was the time that people like NDTV, Raghav Behl's TV18, they were the pioneers at that point of time who were, revolutionizing TV programming for India. And I was really, really blessed to be taken in as a trainee straight out of college at that point of time. In fact, we were quite a lot of us. Our cohort included freshers like me, 20-year-old straight out of college, to math professor from Stephens, who joined as a trainee to learn about television programming. And that's exactly where my journey in video storytelling, in audiovisual storytelling starts. From there, I did a little freelancing with NDTV, and then I was with Channel V, where we have common friends. So we were the bunch of people who went together to Channel V to again, transform Channel V from music programming to youth programming. Yeah. So, and after Channel V, I moved on to another uh, big production house doing great work, Meditech. They have created some of the best shows again. Uh, they were known for their environmental storytelling. They were known for their storytelling. So my last stint as an employee was with Meditech. And after Meditech, three of us from Meditech, we started off a production house. And that's where my entrepreneurial journey started. That was sometime in 2003. And then 2004 was when my elder son was born, and I continued working. And those nowadays, you can edit on your phones, while at those days we had to go to a studio and edit, right? And then the studios were also booked, and those studios would run 24/7. So you had to do night shifts, right? Because you get your slots and shifts, right? And then when you don't get a day slot, you have to do a night slot. And I've even carried my little baby with my nanny to the studio, So while I would be editing, my nanny and my son would be in another room.
I think it's because of the fantastic programming that you all did for television. A lot of us were inspired. So maybe a few years later, I interned at Veritech as well, wanting to produce the travel shows, the food shows, the reality TV that you mentioned about. And you're right that I too come from the generation where we spent hours traveling around the world, shooting with heavy cameras, and then coming back and again editing, spending nights and weeks just editing in an edit studio where the story is being captured, but now we have to figure out how to tell it. And there was writing and all kinds of things happening along with it. But back in the day, even then, storytelling, visual storytelling was meant for entertainment, right? There were short films, there were films being made, but it was largely for consumption by a production house for entertainment purposes or information purposes. Today we see the power of visuals in the hands of everyone with a smart, anyone has the capacity to capture a story while it's happening and go live from that space, or can stitch it into a narrative using technology, using apps, using even a social media platform to edit it, and can tell a story, right? Let's talk about the power of visual storytelling, or the power of video storytelling. What do you think what do you think is the advantage of telling a story through video? And when somebody uses to tell a story through video, how can it complement, let's say, the other forms? One may choose to write on LinkedIn, but there is a video to show. Even when you put it on Instagram or you put it on your website today, even organizations, businesses, brands, even individual creators are using YouTube as a very strong form of video storytelling. What is the advantage of video?
So I was just reading up a little bit to share data with everyone listening in. So it says that MIT has done a research, and the MIT research shows that visual storytelling 60,000 times more engaging. And apparently, brain most of the time is absorbing 90% of the time is absorbing visuals, and that's why the power of visual storytelling. And also, if we come to a very common language again, it with videos, you are able to touch your all your senses, right? Your
Yes.
auditory senses, your visual senses, so you can connect with your audiences at a bigger level, at an emotional level. So that's a power. That's why everyone is moving towards visual storytelling, from Gen Z kids to uh, businesses. And businesses are trying to actually imitate the Gen Zs who are able to connect with people using that
No, it
visuals.
is. It is.
Yeah.
It's also about the fact that so if your audience prefers information through video, then it makes sense to be on video. Yeah, number one. Number two is if that's the way to reach them. The second is, of course, yes, video is more powerful. You get far more tools vis-a-vis a print ad, a copy, a newsletter. You get a three-dimensional view to be able to tell a story more articulately than a one-dimensional narrative. Reading is a challenge to a lot of people. Watching and listening is far more easier to a lot of people. And lastly, it's more glitz and glamour because there is a face, and we were talking about how if our hair doesn't fall in place, we get so fussy because we come from a generation that everything has to look perfect in within the walls of a screen, and we have to control every bit, every strand of hair. But having said that it's important to speak sense than to look pretty, right? So therefore there is the duality of it as well, that whatever is very glitzy and glamorous on the screen is also very attractive to the viewer, the listener, and therefore they are drawn to the message, and the way the message has been told, it sort of stays with you for a long, long time. We also spoke a little about, that hesitation of, it's all right, video is great, but do I have to do video right now? Because I'm not articulate. I don't know first. Okay, now even though we're going to talk a bit about how easy is it to shoot, edit, and put out a video, but having said that, a lot of people hold back by saying that I am not articulate. The camera freezes me. I'm scared. Who's going to write my script? How important is this script? And therefore, how important is it to be the face of my brand, of whatever I want to talk about? So, shall we talk a little about that?
uh, Let me share some tips and
Yeah.
tricks on how to overcome that. Some things that I've learned over my professional experience, my personal experience. Let me share all of that. You and me know that the basis of any storytelling should stem from a good research and a good script, right? First, formulate what is the story that you want to tell, or what is your expert topic that you want to share with your audience. Identify that topic, do your research, and I would say, before you get into the camera, it helps that you formulate it for yourself on paper. If anyone starts creating on Instagram or YouTube, they tell you, they already have all these tools listed out. YouTube has their YouTube Creator Studio. Instagram also has their Instagram Creator tools. So there also they will be sharing all these things. And to catch your audience attention, always have a hook, right? So it could be a visual hook, or it could be a text hook, or a question which would relate to your audience and say, oh, that's something I'm struggling with. I want to know about this. Come on camera and start recording it. You can do a little rehearsal of yourself, record it for yourself, and see how it's going. And you know, it's all about practice. You see,
Is
you
it? Does one have to
improvise.
be perfect? Does
It,
one have to be perfect from the first one? Be
I
very
would
because
I would
you know
say
because
no. Don't be perfect. So if you are looking for that perfect moment, you will never launch yourself.
yeah,
Use those
it's
tools.
okay. It's
It's
okay if you
okay.
started
Learn
video
along the
today.
way.
It's,
Yeah,
yes, learn, carry your vulnerability,
yeah,
carry your
yeah,
weakness, carry
yeah.
your inexperience in video from the first video that you shoot. Don't compare
Yeah,
yourself with others, and
absolutely.
start at that point, because you have a good message to give, and your message is more important than how you give that message from day one. And I think that's important, right, Vimla? You agree? Carry your
Totally. I totally
nervousness
agree
in your
with you
video.
there. That also uh, puts your authentic self out, and
Yeah, absolutely.
your audiences relate with you. They don't
Right.
so
Right.
that's what's happening, right? I think that's where the change
Right.
has come about from our time when video was only people who had huge budgets could
Hmm.
use video, to now everyone using it. Why is that so? It's because we have the technology at our hands. People are using it, and they are using it to tell their stories, they tell their messages in their own way, and that authentic self is there. So
So there's more room. There is more room
more
for
room.
a flawed, authentic persona to be accepted by audiences than it was earlier, because earlier it was pre-scripted, well shot, under the spotlight, perfect lighting, perfect sound, perfect editing. A lot of people are paid tons of money, not tons of money. A lot of people are behind the scenes working to make you and your message stand out. But today, when you have the power of video in your own hands, it's easier to carry your story in your own words, with a bit of preparation, like Wimbla said. Do your research, understand what you're trying to say, put it all together. But you don't need to spend a lot of money, but you may need to spend a little of your mind space to be able to tell that story. And there is a format for you, there is a platform for you, there is a form of video for you to be able to tell your story. Am I right?
Absolutely. And that's why you see so many videos which look
Hmm.
so raw go viral. Why? It's a
Yeah.
content. It's that
Yeah.
authentic story that you're telling. you know
Right.
and that also builds a lot of relatability and sometimes trust. If for brands, I would say that builds trust when you
Yeah.
show your raw authentic self. Earlier you could only see the ads or those expensive TV shows for brands, but today brands can utilize that to tell very authentic stories, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
show your workspace the way it is, to take your customers behind the scene of what goes on in your business. People showcase the workspace, your brand culture, and those can be done without those heavy equipments. And nowadays, almost all the cameras can capture good videos. So, you know, just utilize what you have
Yep. And start.
and start. Everyone knows where Mama Earth is today, right? They started off as a very small, husband and wife with a few employees. In fact, I had gone to have a meeting at the earlier workspace, and it was a very small space with, a few employees. But I think what they have done very well is when they started off, when people were spending tons and tons to create those commercial ads, they, utilized their customers and made them create those user generated videos. I think only now they are going ahead and spending budgets, but earlier they were doing it almost in house with their customers, shooting themselves, them shooting themselves, husband shooting the wife shooting the husband. And I think they are one great example
One brand.
to talk about when we talk about how you can utilize the power of visuals without having to spend tons and tons of money. Brands, without even having a social media team, they can utilize one of the employees who is good at taking pictures to take a behind the scenes video and post it, uh, you know uh, show the company culture, all of that. I think we all know that for any one of us to be successful on social media is to have a consistent calendar, right?
I use Mama Earth. There's another brand which I consume a lot as a customer, as a client, is The Whole Truth. And I really love their entire content vehicle for all forms of storytelling. And whether it's their newsletter, whether it's their video, whether it's their graphic design, whether it's their packaging, everything carries a story. And they call themselves a company which produces, let's say, protein bars and protein powder, healthy food. Uh, but they're also a content company, because for them to sell their product, they do have to tell a story, and they tell their stories through many strategies. And they're the ones who make satirical videos. Their ads are shot by their team. The founder is the chief actor in all their videos. And I think what they do with their storytelling is so remarkable. It's funny, it is insightful, it is cutting into the entire segment of telling people why are we the brand that we are and what you should know. So they're educating, they're entertaining, they are engaging their customer, they're doing all of it through video. How are you helping organizations create their capacities internally? Because it's easy to make, like you mentioned, you have hire a social media intern, or maybe we have a small team to develop it, but you're also helping organizations build those capacities and create a pipeline for themselves to sustain video storytelling, instead of just being a one-off where they hire a external consultant to come on board and do it for them, but they are able to do this. So just explain, how do you work with organizations, helping them put their strategy in place?
Yeah. So Ritu, I have recently started consulting brands and even individuals to set up their in-house production, and also not only set up the in-house production but also help them with their content strategy and distribution. All of us have a mobile phone which can take great videos. You don't really even have to invest in an iPhone, right? iPhone sometimes even gives you better result than a film camera, but you don't have
Yes.
to, right? But a 10,000, 15,000 camera, mobile phone also does a great job. And why not utilize it, right? You can make a Hollywood movie, and you can make podcasts like you and me are doing right now, right? But we can all leverage what is available and utilize it for where we are and how it suits us. So, supposing it's a brand that does products, so you want to create some nice visuals of your products, then you would want to set up a little studio setup, right? So then I help them set up their studio, advise them on what camera that they should be investing in, what kind of manpower that they should be hiring. And nowadays the kids make better videos than us, right, Ritu? You would agree, right? And
Yes,
there's
absolutely. Oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah.
I
I for detail, I think they have amazing ideas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing
Absolutely.
storytelling ideas. And
Right. Yeah.
if you have a product which is for that generation, they would, I think, tell a story better than us. They know how to
Absolutely.
communicate with them better, right? they would come up with better story ideas that would resonate with their age group. So I
Absolutely.
advise brands on finding the right team for for their brands, depending
Right.
on where they are, what kind of a brand they are. So do you need a decent studio setup with decent cameras and lights, or you can just hire a few videographers. Like, let me just simplify it. A videographer is someone who does everything, right? Is this concept, who writes a concept, who shoots, who edits. While when you and me started off, we had specific skills for every
Yes.
yeah, there was a script writer, there was a the cinematographer or a dop, and there was a separate editor.
The Storied Way perspective is designed and developed by your Storybag Podcasting Network. Podcasting is a fantastic medium that brings listeners to gather around a story. As the podcasting industry grows by leaps and bounds, we at Your Storybag want to help storytellers, businesses, brands, and organizations leverage the power of narrative. We are not an agency. Instead, you can imagine us as a collective or a cohort that incubates and nurtures emerging story based podcasts in the airwaves. If you'd like to collaborate, commission, or create your own story based podcast, reach out to us at podcast@yourstorybag.com. I was just going to add that don't, while Vimla is talking about the youngsters being able to do fantastic storytelling, which is nothing away from them, but don't disregard the gray hairs that we have. We too are wizened in our experience, dappling with all forms of video and being able to step in and coach people in the right strategy for them, for themselves, for their brands, for their businesses. And you're right, Vimla, you mentioned something about understanding the right format for your brand, whether it's a short form video, whether it's a long form video. And you mentioned podcast. What podcast from being pure audio has become audio video today, because you get to see the person, you get to connect with that person a little more than your audio. And though I love all forms of audio storytelling, for me, video storytelling or audio video storytelling, and particularly the podcast format, is very, very precious. So at Your Story Bag, we've started a new initiative, and which is part of this podcast is part of that, which is to enable brands and organizations use podcasting, use audio video storytelling, and using the podcast format to tell the story of your brand. And if anyone listening to this wants to sort of explore that I have a fitness brand and I want to use the podcast format to tell and talk about fitness and to shape the narratives in the minds of people. How can I get started? I'm here for it, because again, like how Vimla is talking, video is a very interesting format, and podcast itself is an interesting format, and we'll someday perhaps do that. But because you mentioned that, I thought of it's a nice way to little very gently plug in what we do and what we offer, like the way Vimla offers her services. But like going back to that same question and carrying that forward, Vimla, I just want to I consult a lot of entrepreneurs, and when we talk about branding, or when we talk about thought leadership, when we talk about uh, getting on video, the common, let's say, roadblocks that they present in front of me is, I'm not good in front of a camera. It's too much of stress to look good. We've answered that question about carrying your authentic self in front of the camera. And a podcast is a fantastic way to carry your flaws. You don't have to be perfect. Number two. Number three is, oh, it's very expensive. We don't have the money. Or I don't have the money I can't hire a social media team. I can't hire an agency. Suddenly people start talking the agency language. I can't hire an agency. I'll spend some money on hiring a production house to do something for me one time. And then what about after that? Like the way you've stepped in to help businesses, brands, individuals understand what could be their visual storytelling strategy in terms of numbers. If you could indicate how expensive is video storytelling today? How can one decide what scale, what budget to go with? And is it advisable to get a consultant on board, to have work with freelancers, to work with interns, to work with, at what level can one person go to in terms of putting that manpower in place? So what can that investment look like? Could you just talk us through that?
What you can do is you can hire a good videographer, which
Mhm.
I think at a monthly salary should come in about 30 to 50 to 60, depending on the quality of the videographer that you are hiring again, right? So, yeah, at a starting point, you can just hire one videographer for your team to create those videos for your brand.
If I'm right, you're also helping people identify the various video formats right now,
Yes.
and their social media strategy as well.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah. So I help brands in formulating their content calendar.
Mhm.
So you start off. So I create a calendar for them, and you say, okay, you have at least 4 videos on Instagram uh, a week. Post at least once or twice on LinkedIn. you know and have uh, 1 or 2 videos, your long form video on YouTube. So you need to have a good video strategy in place. You need to be able to uh, take care of all of these videos. It's not
Right.
only that uh, ad that captures people's attention, or that one brand film to tell your brand stories, or those testimonials. You need to have all of them now,
And you need to keep
especially.
the stream flowing. You need to keep the
And
stream flowing. Yeah. so
yeah,
so that it's sustainable, right? It's never,
sustainable.
and that's the other thing that I get to hear a lot from entrepreneurs, that, oh my god, once I get into video, I have to keep feeding this monster. And it's like a never ending process. You are only thinking about which content to post. You're not really doing the work that you're meant to do behind that, other than with putting out a social media post. So that's one thing. And let's talk a little about how can people sort of get quicker, faster, smarter. We've spoken about the fact that back in the day there were 4 people doing different functions. Today all of that have come together in one good videographer who's able to do that. So find the right person. Instead of hiring, create a little studio in your own space. So there are these little, I will not use the word shortcut, but there are these little, let's say, possibilities of creating better storytelling in your own hands. Let's talk a little about AI and video storytelling. But personally, someone like me, I use Riverside to record, and I edit my podcast. I've started recording directly into Riverside to edit any of my short form, long form videos, which makes it easy. I use platforms like Magisto and Canva to produce a lot of my content. My long form is the podcast. My short form are the smaller reels, which I cut out of my episodes to get people to see smaller snippets of a conversation. So there is AI which is helping us do things better. So why don't you just tell us a little about what is the future of AI? How will it help us skill up, step up in video storytelling? What is it that you've learned so far? And I know you are working on it.
Yeah. So, things have changed so much, and sometimes you feel, so lost. Kids are way ahead of us. So I've gone ahead and enrolled myself in a program to learn about different AI tools on how to, make my workflow more efficient and effective. And so let me share all my learning. So when I advise my clients, be it brands or be it individuals, to be like you were saying, it's a monster. You have to keep feeding it. It never ends. So that's where AI comes in. Some of your content can be created with AI. When you shoot your videos, you shoot 3, 4 videos together, right? And there are tools like Descript, CapCut. Descript, what you do is you put your video in Descript, and it'll give you your transcript also. So, you can take out from the transcript, you edit out the parts that you don't want to take out. And you can, in fact, the script automatically takes out all the ahs and the ums and the little pauses that earlier we used to spend so much time editing that, right? Now all these tools do that. So there is Descript,
Riverside is like that. So what we are recording
yeah,
on right now is Riverside. It does the same thing
yeah,
as Descript does.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is Descript, there is Filmora, and then you just want to create a text animated video, right? So you can use Lumen 5. You just give the prompt, and then it'll create a video. Then there is Visla. So again, with Visla is again the AI tool. So you give Visla the prompt. In fact, it'll create your script and your video together. Or if you want to
Mhm.
get a little creative and use your own video, own script, you write out your script, feed in the script, and Visla will create the video automatically with its own stock footage, its own AI voice, and everything. 11 Labs is your place for all the voiceovers. So you say, okay, I want Indian voice. You can ask for an Indian voice. In fact, you can ask for a lot of languages also. I want Dutch language view artist. I want a German. Everything is there. So there are so many tools nowadays. Yeah, these are just a few that I'm mentioning. And so
Right.
brands and individuals can utilize all of this without having to put in big budgets or spend time creating videos. A lot of that can be automated through AI.
From the entire storytelling strategy piece, since I also help people uh, use different forms of storytelling, I say pick a format, pick a form which is most you are most confident of owning it and leading it. So if you're good with words, if writing is your form, please go ahead, write, keep that as your primary storytelling format. And you may choose to do an audio video, or get additional help to be able to do it. Don't ignore it completely, but don't let it take away anything from what you do otherwise. There are ways, there are tools, there are, let's say, techniques by which you can get onto video. And you don't have to do a dancing reel, you don't have to mimic something, you don't have to make a joke of yourself to be seen. You can lead with your authenticity, you can lead with your personal brand. If you are somebody who's more likely to talk and just leave a message, go ahead, just keep that on. Don't pick up anything which doesn't come very naturally to you, because that's what is not the purpose of telling story through video. Video is something which is very punishing. It shows our flaws, but it also shows our truths. So I think if you lead with the truth, it's easier to get your listener, your audience, your customer, your stakeholder who you're trying to bring on board, instead of trying to do something because everybody's doing it, and this is the only way to do a video. So I think that's the only defining or distinction that I would like anyone who's considering video storytelling as a strategy for their business or their brand.
I
Am I
so
right,
agree
Vimla?
with you there, Ritu. You don't have to follow the trend. Find out what is your strength, who you are. Be yourself. Don't ever try to follow the trend. Capitalize on what you're good at. Pick up what we are best at, and not just go and follow something because everyone is doing it. And finally, what really matters is the quality that you give out. And you can
Yeah.
only give out quality when you are doing what you enjoy doing,
Yeah.
what resonates with you. So, yes,
Right.
tell your stories the way it resonates with you, and you will obviously be able to reach your audience.
Right. Oh, videos are very beautiful. I still have dreams about being in a production room, either filming or editing or writing a script. And it's been a long, long time, a little over a decade, that I've not done a long form video or a shoot or a been in a production room of any kind or a studio of any kind. But having said that, I think the format of video storytelling has evolved in this last decade, and that's why it's so powerful that it's in the hands of every person. It's up to you to be able to tell your story. Video is a fantastic format and a medium to tell your story, but do it that comes most naturally to you, that comes in a form that you are confident that you can carry it forward. You can use tools and people to help you do that, but then you should not ever get stuck and say, oh my god, this why have I fed this monster, because now I have to help it grow. It's about making that monster your little friend, or make it a little pet who you nourish, who gives you comfort, who lets you be your authentic self without feeling judged. So use video format for that. Lastly, Vimla, we've spoken about brands, we've spoken about creators and influencers. Let's talk a little about nonprofits and their use of, let's say, video storytelling. What does it do for them? Do you have any tips, tricks for them that you would like to talk about? Again, because even then, from the nonprofit space, budget, team power, manpower, all of this is dicey. So any special tips for nonprofit?
Again, Ritu, like you said, I would suggest that, we should only invest if it is required for us, right? If, I have a very small budget, but I want to create impact with the work I'm doing, then I would say, instead of, taking out your budget for the real work to create a video because everyone is creating, really doesn't make sense, right?
Mhm.
But if putting in that budget or taking out that budget from your overall budget and from the work that you're going to do, and it's going to help you reach out to your funders, then do it. Do not take out that budget just to create a video because everyone is creating. But
Mhm.
if you take out that budget and, with that video, you're going to be reaching out different stakeholders and it is going to get you more funds coming in, then do it. So strategize.
Yes. So I think about what I'm taking away is also, is that what is your expectation of that investment on video? Are you using it as a tool to tell people what you do, and therefore they will come and invest in you, whether from the funding point of view, from buying and purchasing your products and services, or working with you for that matter? That, your expectation of that video has to be crystal clear, and if you know it, then your storytelling is sort of used to speak to a certain kind of a viewer, to convey that certain idea, and therefore it can turn back and give you that expectation that you had from that video. Otherwise, going like Vimla rightly said, going out and just using video without a strategy, it's going to backfire. You will not know where did your money go, what is this film or a piece of small video is meant to do. And that, therefore, that's a very confused sense of messaging. uh
But
Vimla, would you like to
there, let
add,
me
is it?
also add
Yeah.
add a little more, Ritu, there. So, it is very important to be seen, right?
Mhm.
When only when you're seen, then people know what you're doing. If you're not seen, then people don't know what you're doing. So even if you don't have a budget, you can utilize your phone cameras to document your work as you're doing it and post it. You know, just show what you're doing. Even if you don't want to edit, just take a small, 30-second clip, 20-second clip, utilize it, showcase your work. You don't have to
Or
invest in
use,
that.
or do what I did today. Just today my phone threw up a memory of a video of a show which I did, or a campaign. In fact, it was an entire campaign that I did for an organization, and I was going to schools with a story, very badly, very poorly recorded video from a far off distance, and poor sound. Again, we go back to that whole finicky old ladies who are so finicky about the frame, the shooting, the audio, the sound, everything. And it's pathetic. And it's been on my phone for 5 years, Vimla. I have not used a single clip out of that, but I have the entire show on it. And there comes this little memory. Your phone does these weird things. It just throws up a memory that this is this today, 5 years back, this is where you were doing this work. And I suddenly remembered my entire the work that went behind putting that show out. And I was like, okay, doesn't matter today, 5 years later, I'm more forgiving of a poorly shot video. But now I have the capacity to perhaps put that in perspective and tell a story around it, that it's badly shot, but this is how what we did, this is what happened, this is what was behind the scene. So therefore, even for a poorly shot video or inadequately available video material that you may have, utilizing other forms of storytelling will also make that little clip, they make that little video very, very meaningful. So don't
Yeah,
disregard
even
anything.
just, if you're not comfortable shooting videos, we can all take pictures, right? Because everyone has a phone camera. Utilize one of the free tools. Just put it in a slideshow. If you go to Canva, you just put now even you don't even have to go to Canva, right? You go directly on Instagram and put those still pictures together and create a little story
Right,
about yourself.
right.
Yeah, just because you don't have the budget, uh, you know don't say, I don't have the budget so I can't create it. You can
Yeah.
today. You have so
and
many.
and, and
Yeah.
and go back to that whole thing: accept yourself, accept your flaws, accept the way you look, accept the way you sound. It's perfectly fine. We are living in a world where there are more trolls than the kind people. So therefore, kindness is kindness on social media is a rarity. People are more scared of the trolls because if I don't look nice, people are going to make fun of me and all kinds of things. It's all right. You don't exist for the trolls. You exist for the people who value you, your product, your service, your offering, what you have to say, and how authentically you show up. Attract the right people, it'll come. So that's my little piece of advice for anyone who's staying away from video just because for the fear of judgment. So go ahead and own it. Vimla, I've had a lovely time talking to you. I hope you too had a great time.
I
Is there
had
something
so
that you would
much
like to add?
to say that Ritu, I don't know,
You did? Oh, did we not cover everything? Did I?
Yeah, no,
Is there
no, that's
something?
what I'm
Yes. Oh,
saying.
that'll be
No, what
nice.
I'm saying, I hope I just didn't ramble off trying to say so many things because I wanted to say so many things.
I don't know. I'm wondering. Like, is there something that Vibla wanted to say and I'm not asked? Is there something that I should have asked? Why don't you
No,
say
no,
something that you thought you would like to say and we've not added it?
no. I think we've spoken so much because there's so much to talk about. But yeah, let me end on the note that, don't wait for the perfect moment. Start. You know, uh, it's very important if you're doing anything and if you want to progress, it is important to be seen. you know
Yeah.
you never know when someone sees your work. There might be someone from another part of the country who wants to collaborate with you, but if you're
Yeah.
not out there, no one sees you. So
Yeah.
put up whatever you have, be it still pictures, be it 30-second videos. Utilize it, share your story. And you know it's not only about reaching out to people for your benefit. In fact, other people can also learn so much from your experiences. There is so much that all of us can learn from each other, so start sharing.
That's the perfect note to sort of bring this episode to a close. Vimla, how can people get in touch with you? I'm sure after listening to this episode, maybe it could be an entrepreneur or a brand who may want to use your skills to create an in-house team or create the video strategy that you help them do. How can people get in touch with you?
So my LinkedIn and my Instagram are the perfect places for anyone to reach out to me, because you will also see a little bit about the work that I am doing when you go to my LinkedIn or my Instagram. So you will understand that, does my work resonate with you? And
Right.
yes, that's the best place for us to connect. And I look forward to connecting with a lot of people. And Ritu, thank you so much for having me here and listening to my endless stories.
No, it's always
But
good to catch
it's
up.
been a wonderful
Yeah.
conversation, Ritu. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Here's to the power of video, and here's to the power of video storytellers who are helping people tell better stories every single day. So, thank you, Vimla. Thank you so much. I'm going to put your social links in the show notes for people to connect with Vimla directly. And you know how she can help you, you know how I can help you. And for everything else, you too can stop by my website, www.yourstorybank.com. I do a lot of storytelling and storytelling of all forms and formats. So there could be something that could fit in the scheme of things that you are looking for. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to this podcast, because as much as I am doing this podcast, I'm also trying to bring the best voices or diverse voices who have different perspectives and experience of leveraging storytelling. And I think we are all learning from one another. We are learning from each other's experience, each other's style, each other's niche, and we are sort of creating a better, bigger ecosystem of people who want to use storytelling in its any form, any format, anyhow. So thank you so much, Vimla, and that's what this podcast is doing. It's adding to my research, adding to my own pool. I'm teaching myself, educating myself, also checking on what I know through people like you who are doing video every day, better, stronger, seniors in the profession, like I say, who are doing it differently than me. So therefore, it's good to know that we sort of align in terms of how the space is also growing. So thank you so much, Ramna. This was such a pleasure. Hi, this is Rituparna. Thank you for listening to the Storied Way Perspective. This is a bi monthly podcast where you will meet storytellers, influencers, entrepreneurs, coaches, thought leaders, and experts as I ask them what can stories do in the world today. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and everywhere else. Look out for the Storied Way Perspective with Rituparna. No matter where you listen to us, please rate, review, and share the podcast. This helps me know you are listening. You can also write to me at podcast@yourstorybag.com. I will wait to hear from you.